Canada's Wonderland in Vaughan, Ontario is one of the world's premier amusement parks for coasters and flat rides. This park attracts visitors from all over the world. This park features 19 different roller coasters. Many of them are really good, but they also have a lot of. This park is extremely top heavy as they have five or four elite really good coasters, but after that, their lineup does really drop off. Still, I think that Canada's Wonderland is an elite and top tier Cedar Fair park because of their amazing flat ride collection. In today's review, I will tell you all about Canada's Wonderland, ranging from the history, the coaster collection, the flat ride lineup, the food, and what to expect at the park if you are going. TAP Broadcasting Company wanted to open a theme park. They had their eyes on Mason, Ohio. In 1971, they opened Kings Island at a cost of $31 million. That park was highly successful and drew worldwide attention, with people coming from all over the world to visit the park. They opened Kings Dominion in 1975, located in Dawsville, Virginia. And following the success of their two flagship theme parks, they opened Canada's Wonderland in 1981. The park would open with 5 roller coasters: Flower and Zien, now known as Thunder Run, Wild Beast, Boaster Coaster, Mighty Canadian Mindbuster, and their only steel roller coaster, Dragonfire. Early 1990s, TAP sold the park to Paramount Parks, and they added a bunch of trash. They added things like Flight Deck, a Vekoma SLC, and Time War, a Zamperla Volare. But their best addition by far was Cyclone. This flat ride is really good. They temporarily rebranded the park to Paramount Canada's Wonderland, and that would remain so until Cedar Fair would take over in 2006. In 2006, Paramount sold all 5 of their parks: California's Great America, Carowinds, Kings Island, Kings Dominion, and Canada's Wonderland, Cedar Fair. Cedar Fair was desperate for new rides. Their best ride at the time was Vortex, an aging aero suspended coaster. In 2008, Cedar Fair added Behemoth, a Bollinger Amabillard hypercoaster, to Canada's Wonderland. This was the first of a trio of B&M Hypers added to Cedar Fair's brand new parks. In 2009, Kings Island got Diamondback, and in 2010, Carowinds got Intimidator, now known as Thunderstriker. After the success of those rides, in 2012, Leviathan was introduced. This would be the first ever Giga coaster from B&M, which would be the first ever coaster that would crack the 300-foot barrier. Coaster enthusiasts from all over the world were stunned. They were wondering why a park with already a B&M Hyper would get a B&M Giga coaster. When this opened, enthusiasts knew why. While Behemoth was focused on floater airtime, Leviathan would be a speed demon. After the success of this coaster, Cedar Fair would invest Gigas into their other parks, adding Fury 325 to Carowinds in 2015, and Orion to Kings Island in 2020. After this, there were more and more investments poured into the park. 2014, they introduced Wonder Mountain Guardian, a Triotech shooting dark ride. In 2019, they introduced Yukon Striker, the world's tallest, fastest, and longest dive coaster, and in 2025, the park will be getting Alpine Fury, a premier ride skyrocket, which has 9 inversion and will be one of the most anticipated new roller coasters in the world for 2025. Now let's talk about some of the lines at Canada's Wonderland. Canada's Wonderland is the highest attended seasonal amusement park in the Six Flags Entertainment Company. It received nearly 4 million guests in 2019. This park has notoriously long lines for almost every attraction in the park. There are 2 ways to avoid these lines. Firstly, you can visit on a bad weather day. This causes people to not want to go to the park, which minimizes the lines. Secondly, you can pay for Fastlane. There are 2 options: Normal Fastlane and Fastlane Plus. Normal Fastlane is pretty much a waste of money in my opinion, because you don't get many of the big rides, and also it's still pretty pricey. You don't save much with it. With the Fastlane Plus, it might be very pricey, but you can get all the coasters that are included with Fastlane. Note, some of these coasters are not in Fastlane, and we will display those on the screen. Canada's Wonderland has an impressive coaster collection. It features 19 different roller coasters by 2025, which is one of the most in the world. For the GP, this is incredible. But for coaster enthusiasts, It is extremely top-heavy. They feature a trio of B&Ms, and there will be a Premier Rides Skyrocket. Leviathan is the best B&M out of the trio. This Giga Coaster was opened in 2012 and was B&M's prototype. Although B&M has improved on this model since, it is still a really good prototype. Leviathan kicks things off with one of the best drops in the world. In that back row, you get 45 seconds of strong and sustained floater airtime. This layout is quite short, although it is really good. The speed hills give good flojector airtime combined with laterals. The giant airtime hills have sustained floater airtime, and the turnarounds and valleys offer crushing positive Gs. Although this is anticlimactic and it ends quite quickly, it is good for what it is, and still one of the best coasters in Canada. If you like airtime, Behemoth is for you. This Voyager Mabler hypercoaster has almost a dozen hills, each one giving sustained floater airtime, and powerful sustained floater airtime at that. This is one of the top tier B&M hypers because the airtime is more sustained and stronger. This coaster also features longer trains, which whips you down that first drop in the back row. It is quite good. In that first valley, there is a pretty bad rattle, and after a few rides, it can give you quite the headache. But the rest of the ride is thankfully quite smooth. And unlike the other hypercoasters out there, this ending actually is good. It has a 540-degree downward helix that is moderately forceful, followed by an upwards turn and one more airtime hill before jumping into the brakes. This ride is pretty long. In fact, for prime ride time, it is longer than Leviathan. The only thing that keeps it back from being the best coaster in the park is the rattle. Yukon Striker is the world's tallest, fastest, and longest dive coaster, and is also the best. There are a few reasons why. Most dive coasters are one-trick ponies. After a drop, you have an Immelman, a mid-course brake run, and at that point, the ride is pretty much dead. Although Yukon Striker does have vests, it has an incredible, forceful layout. The first trot in the back row gives incredible flojector airtime the whole way down, while the front has some weak floater airtime. Those vest restraints are still free enough to allow airtime. This ride is glossy smooth, smoother than most B&Ms and most coasters out there. It feels like you're flying. Wild Beast is the best woody in the park. Sure, this ride is incredibly rough if you're in a wheel seat and if you don't staple yourself, but if you sit in avoiding a wheel seat and you staple yourself with a wrap bar, this ride is tolerable. Plus, this ride has excellent floater airtime. The other adult woody in the park is Mighty Canadian Mindbuster. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, this coaster had a legendary third hill. It had offered powerful ejector airtime. Following expansion of the Splashworks water park, the hills were all modified, and now the hills are too drawn out to offer any good airtime. The first drop does have some good floater airtime in back, but the rest of the ride is pretty lackluster and is pretty bumpy. Thankfully, Gravity Group is doing a retrack of this ride this season. For the first half, and next season, they will do the second half up to the brake run. This ride has pretty short lines, usually less than 15 minutes, and even in some cases, I've had a walk on. If you're the general public, these following rides are to avoid. The first one is Silver Streak, a Vekoma family inverted coaster. These coasters are nicknamed Hang and Bang for their janky transitions and minor headbanging. Although it could be fun and a good starting inverted coaster, if you're an adult, it is not worth riding. The next one of these rides is Flight Deck. This is one of the worst Vekoma SLCs. It is rough, uncomfortable, and headbangy. Although it is intense, it is so painful that you should avoid it at all costs. The final one on this list is Time Warp, a Zamperla Valero. This one has cage restraints in a flying position. It is quite uncomfortable and quite boring, so we would advise you avoiding these. Although these may seem for fun for you and your families, boy, you are wrong. You're in for an uncomfortable ride. Avoid these at all costs. Now let's talk about some of the flat rides. Shockwave, the Mondial Top Skit, is one of the best flat rides in Canada's Wonderland. It offers amazing hang time and a dizzying experience because it flips all the time. it comes near close to the fly. And that makes me feel like I'll fall off the ride every time. No. Wait, that's a fail. That's a fail. Fail. Cut. Okay. Like, that would be funny though. It does make you feel like I'll fall off the ride though. That's true. It does make you feel like I'll fall off the ride. Yeah, you can keep that. It's fine. But are you gonna leave that in the video? Bye. Okay, ready for the next flat? That's an epic fit. Some other notable flat rides at Canada's Wonderland are Sledgehammer, a high giant jump 2, Drop Tower, Intamin Drop Tower, Skyhawk, a Gerstlauer Sky Roller, and Cyclone, a Mondale Frisbee. Now let's talk about some of the food at Canada's Wonderland. Canada's Wonderland has super expensive food, like other theme parks, and most of it tastes pretty decent and average theme park food. If you have the food pass, you can get anything free, and you can get as many meals 4 hours apart. If you have a season pass, you can get 15% off all meals. Two things that you have to try at Canada's Wonderland are the fries and the funnel cake. Those are fire, and I'm literally addicted to them. Don't waste your money on Pizza or Subway though. It is super overpriced compared to other Subway locations and Pizza locations, and just tastes like Pizza and Subway. Now let's talk about the ride ops at Canada's Wonderland. They are definitely above average. In peak times of the season, they're constantly running freight trains, and the lines are moving quickly. There's rarely any stacking. In the off-season, however, it does drop off. Commonly, the trains stack, and there are a lot of slow-moving lines. No, the staff are really nice though, and they will grant seating if asked politely. And do not even think about cutting the line. I have seen people get kicked out of the queue and not be able to return on Behemoth. In conclusion, is Canada's Wonderland worth visiting? Absolutely. I would give the Six Flags Entertainment Corporation park a 9.5 out of 10. On top of a good coaster collection and a deep flat ride lineup, this park also has great staff, decent operations, and decent food. Thank you for watching this review on Canada's Wonderland. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more future content.